It is not quite common that a college football stadium gets replaced. However, that doesn't mean that there aren't ones that need to be replaced. Whether it be they're too big, the views are terrible, they're inaccessible, or just generally a bad venue. Whatever the reason may be, there are several of them. These are college football stadiums that need to be replaced. First off, we have the University of Connecticut's Pratt & Whitney Stadium. This stadium only opened in 2003. However, it looks like something much older than that, with its simplistic concrete and bench layout. It was funded by the state, likely to give Hartford, a large metro and the capital of Connecticut, a large sports and concert venue, to the tune of $91.2 million. The trade-off is, however, that the University of Connecticut, the stadium's main tenant, is 19 miles, or roughly a 45-minute drive away. In addition to this, attendance at the venue the last several years has only been roughly half the capacity of the stadium. Concerts are a rare occurrence at the stadium, despite Hartford being a decent-sized metro, with only about 10 in 22 years of the stadium's existence. No doubt likely due to major tours skipping Hartford for larger and more profitable venues around Boston and New York City. As a venue for Hartford, perhaps it could stay, but as a college venue, the distance from campus, the lackluster appearance, and the bad attendance make one really wonder if it really should be replaced with an on-campus venue. Next, we have the University of Massachusetts McGuirk Alumni Stadium. This stadium has seen limited improvements since it was built in the 1960s, with upgrades really just limited to the press box and player facilities. Aside from attendance being lackluster and well below capacity in recent years, the stadium's seating is quite far from the field, as the front row is roughly 70 feet away from the sidelines, much more than the regular 30 to 40 feet seen at most stadiums. And there's no end zone seating either, just a wall and a building. The team even left the stadium for 2 years to get these improvements done, despite nothing changing in the actual seating bowl. In reality, they really should have used the $34.5 million they spent to improve this stadium on replacing it, as the capacity, lack of close-by seating, and overall appearance just don't cut it. Next, we have UB Stadium in Buffalo, New York. This venue is one of the few D1 venues to still have a track around it, and it is definitely this stadium's largest liability. It really is quite strange that this stadium does have a track because it opened in 1993, a time when sports-specific venues were definitely more of the norm. Game attendance doesn't even come close to capacity these days, and for those that do attend, they are welcome to poor views of the field, with the sideline sides being roughly 86 feet away from the field, and the end zone side being roughly 120 feet away from the field due to the track. And that's just from the front row. The end zone side is no small section either, and it's actually newer than the rest of the stadium, as it was part of an expansion that occurred in 1999. And despite the stadium not being terribly old, it doesn't have much luxury seating or much of a press box either, and its scoreboard is a tiny nothing far away from most of the seating. Given the attendance issues, it's unlikely that lowering the field and removing the track would be done, as you would have to add more seats to fill that void, to actually make seating closer. And ultimately, you're left with a stadium that's not really that old by college football standards, has poor views, an outdated design, limited amenities, and that's oversized. Next, we have Georgia State's Center Park Stadium in Atlanta. This stadium is a conversion of the Atlanta Braves' Turner Field, which also was a conversion of Centennial Olympic Stadium from the 1996 Olympics. The reason that this stadium should be replaced is not really because it was a baseball stadium and it doesn't really fit the shape of a football stadium, but rather that it is occupied by a football team that has little need for most of it. Yet they still decided to spend $30 million on the property just to buy it, and then $26 million more just in converting it. The college's football program was only a few years old when this was done, so it's not like there was exactly a long-standing tradition of football at this university, where it would make sense to occupy a stadium that at times held 50,000 people for baseball. In fact, the attendance of late here hovers around only 16,000. Much less than the listed capacity of 24,333. Obviously, by the unused seats in the upper deck, the stadium actually holds much more than that. And ultimately you have a relatively new and not very popular team playing in the shell of what was once an MLB venue, whose college spent significant money to make it usable for college football in the first place. One must really wonder if they should have just negotiated with the city and county to tear down the stadium and build a new on the land. This stadium was not free for the college, and one must wonder the maintenance costs on such a large facility. Ultimately, when college stadiums are built, plans don't always go accordingly. And when you're left with a stadium that's inadequate, little can be done cheaply to fix it. Thank you for watching.